Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Maybe we can find a seat if you want to move your way up closer. That's always good. Helps our presenters. Well, good evening. My name is Dan Donovan. I'm the principal of Danbury High School. And thank you for coming to our 7th annual Freshman Forum. Give yourselves a round of applause for showing up tonight. Appreciate it. You're going to hear some tremendous speakers that we have the privilege to come back year after year. Some have been doing this since almost the inception of it, that are going to give you some insightful information. Some faces you're going to see are not new to you, like the man standing to my right, Mayor Mark Bowden, who's going to say a warm welcome in a second. And also, I can't see because of the lights, Dr. Sal usually shows up here. I know, where's Kevin Durkin? Is he here yet? I know he's coming down as well, but I can't see because I'm not there yet, so sorry. So with that, I'm going to turn the mic over to Mayor Mark in just one second, but before we even begin, I have to thank the person who's been in charge of this for all 7 years and puts this madness together with all the speakers and everything like that, and that's Terry Budlong. Terry, could you stand up, please? Stand up. You're not that tall. There you go. And you're going to hear from her in a little bit, but I had to publicly thank her. With that, I'd like to give you over to Mayor Mark.
Good evening, everybody. How we doing? Good to see you, and it's always great to be at the best high school in the state of Connecticut, Danbury High School. So, a round of applause. And I want to thank Principal Donovan for the great job that he does each and every year, and this is an important event for us because, unfortunately, this is really a difficult, challenging time when it comes to addiction across all communities. Danbury is clearly not immune. But more importantly, we're seeing things that when I was a kid, we didn't know about. Maybe when you were a kid, we didn't know about. But yet young people today are facing more and more pressures than they ever have. And so part of the purpose of tonight is to educate you on things that are out there so that when you spot them, you know exactly what's happening and where to get help or how to get intervention or whatever the case might be. You know, it's the old rule of thumb that if you see something, say something. And that's really, if you walk out of here, what we want you to do. Ask questions of all of our police officers, of our staff here at the high school. I know Lieutenant Danielle is here with us. I know that I saw Sean O'Brien out there. They're all very well versed in their job, and they understand how to disseminate information that can help you, help your child, or help another child that may be facing a challenge. I'll also tell you that things like vaping, I never heard of it before. And it gets this rap of being the safe way, you know, quit cigarettes. And there's now these vape shops that have opened up all over Connecticut. I never know what it was, but the fact of the matter is we're now finding out that it's very dangerous for you, that it can give your lungs an infection, it can kill you if you're not careful with it. And then while, yes, vaping marijuana is not a good thing, it also applies to the non-marijuana products as well. So these are things that we just didn't have when we were growing up, and now they're there. And you need to be educated on them. I will say that Danbury leads the state in terms of intervention, and leads the state in terms of identification, and leads the state in terms of enforcement. So we have that side covered. But when we talk about recovery, when we talk about addiction, we can always do better. And I'll also tell you that I'm very proud that Danbury is the only recovery-friendly city in the state of Connecticut. We're the only city to have that designation. Why? Because we understand that people are fighting a battle and we want to be there to support them to get back on their feet, to become successful. So you're going to have a lot of information on you tonight. It's a great program in the sense that you get a lot of new information that you've never heard of or seen about. And of course, we're so very, very proud of our Danbury police officers. By the way, crime is down 13% this month from last month. These guys are doing a great job. So have a great night. Thank you for being here and being interested.
Well, welcome everybody. Parents, I want to encourage you to stay involved with your children's lives throughout high school and understand that you still remain the most influential person in your child's life. Never doubt the importance of being a role model and what you mean in that role. And students, I encourage you to consider this information. We know that prevention works, and we know that The more educated you are, the better choices that you make. And the choices you make today really do form the foundation for who and what you are tomorrow. So we encourage you to think about the choices you make and consider the information that's presented tonight. I want to thank our Teen Leadership Health Council, who has been a very important part of tonight, and the ROTC. I would also like to thank Stand Together, Make a Difference, your local prevention coalition who supports these efforts. Every single day, they're out in the community doing something. So I would first like to introduce the president of the Teen Leadership Health Council here in Danbury. We are a community organization of teens from various high schools in the community who come together to bring prevention efforts into the schools. So if anybody out there is interested in being a part of this, once this evening is over, you'll know exactly who to talk to. But right now, I would like to introduce Jessica Postmentier, who is going to introduce our first speaker.
Our first speaker is Dr. Santucci, who is recognized by Yale University School of Medicine for her outstanding teaching and has received the Award of Exemplary Performance as a clinician and educator. She is currently working as a professor of pediatrics at Yale University School of Medicine. Please give a round of applause for Dr. Karen Santucci.
Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. It's really an honor to be here this evening. Working at Yale, working at Greenwich Hospital, I've been at Yale for about 20 years. One of the things that I can honestly tell you as a pediatric emergency medicine physician, this, a little bit closer, is that better? Thank you so much for that. This is probably the most important 2 hours of the year that I can spend. And I truly believe as a mom and as a physician, this is probably the most important 2 hours that you can spend with your child. This is such a critically important evening, and it's truly an honor to be here today. We're trying to provide for you some knowledge, recognizing that knowledge truly is power, and you're going to be hearing from quite a few different speakers. As a physician, I'd like to give you a slightly different perspective on this topic, and maybe it's a few things that you haven't heard before. What I'm going to be talking about this evening is just a little bit about the science of the adolescent brain, the impact of underage marijuana and alcohol use on the healthy development of your brain, consequences of underage drinking resulting in emergency department visits, and I'm a pediatric emergency medicine physician working at Yale. And then I'd like to share a perspective as a pediatrician, as an emergency medicine physician, and as a mom, what it's like when there is an untoward event. When something happens that you know in your heart and your soul and your mind, this shouldn't have happened, and if we could have gone back in time, just a couple of minutes, we might have been able to prevent something like this from happening. The adolescent brain. Does anybody in the audience know what age group we take care of in pediatrics? Do you have a sense of that? From what age to what age? I see a hand in the back. 13 to 17, you said? Yeah. That's actually a pretty cool guess. You know, it's a little bit broader than that for pediatrics. Anybody else? 5 to 18, another really good guess, and that was pretty broad. I can tell you as a pediatric emergency medicine physician, we have something called Code Pink, and they'll shout out, Code Pink, Code Pink. What a Code Pink is, sounds like something out of a movie on TV or something like that. Code Pink is something called a precipitous delivery. What? Do you know? Did you say 0 months to 18? Oh, like this? Put your hand in the air. That was a high five. We will actually take care of 0. So someone being born, a precipitous delivery is someone giving birth to someone up until the age of 21. And for some emergency departments, they will take care of children from 0 months, which is birth, up until 25 years of age. And 25 is sort of a very sweet number for a reason that maybe not everyone in the room recognizes. When do you think your brain stops evolving, growing, developing, finessing, getting to its completion? At what age? At 5? I saw 5. You know 2? Perhaps the youngest person in the audience. You're guessing 25. That was a really good guess. So your brain stops developing at the age of 25. And you might be wondering, what the heck does that have to do with tonight? The reason that is so darn critically important, your brain is evolving, the nerve cells, the neurons are evolving and growing and maturing. The myelin, which is the layer of fat that goes from one nerve cell connecting how things get transmitted to another, those nerve cells aren't fully developed yet. So what do you think could possibly happen to your brain if a toxin is introduced into the body, a toxin like alcohol or marijuana or LSD or nicotine? If that's introduced into a body that's not fully developed yet, that alters the development of that brain. So the same way you would never give a martini or a glass of wine to a 2-month-old, there's something very detrimental about doing that to someone whose brain is still developing. And the human brain does not stop developing until 25 years of age. So this is important knowledge for each and every one of us to have. And this shapes and molds the entire rest of the talk. That's only going to be for about 12 minutes or so. But this is critically important information because someone drinking at the age of 13 or 18 or even 21 is very different from someone having a glass of wine at the age of 30 or 40. That brain is developed. And so the point is, if the brain is not developed yet, these chemicals, these toxins, affect the brain now, in the present, but also in the future. There are lasting effects on that brain. And one of the major lasting effects is that of increasing the likelihood of something like addiction. None of us in the room know which one of us has a higher propensity towards developing an addiction. By starting to drink or use these substances early, that puts anyone who does that at an increased risk of developing an addiction. So it changes the odds, it changes the statistics. So if someone can put off drinking alcohol until 25 or 30 when they're at a wedding or they're going out to watch a football game, that's very, very different from someone drinking early on because it affects your brain now and it affects your brain in the future. And as it is, an developing brain is so much more vulnerable. It's vulnerable from a hormonal perspective, because you know what adolescence is like. We have some kids who are in freshman year who are 6'2". We have some kids who are 4'9". We have some people who are fully developed from a puberty perspective and others who haven't begun yet. And so there are a lot of stressors, a lot of hormones, there's a lot that's going on. And then if you throw into the mix these toxins, this alters everything from here on in. So this is really, really important information. This is neuroscience. This is critically important for each and every one of us to understand. what's special about your brain as a freshman? The short answer is everything. You can learn a language a lot faster than we as adults can. You can learn dance steps a lot faster. You can do math a lot better. You can retain a lot more. You can understand things. You can do things so much more quickly. And you want to maintain that and nurture that and grow that brain, and you don't want to impede that functioning. So the adolescent brain, I have a pointer here somewhere, the very last part of the brain to develop is something called the prefrontal cortex, which is actually, well, the prefrontal cortex is right up there up front, and that's towards the left side. The prefrontal cortex is the last part of the brain to develop, and the reason that's so important is that's the part that controls something called executive functioning and making solid and reasonable and prudent good decisions. Another part of the brain that we're really worried about in terms of addiction is the amygdala. This little almond-shaped thing over here, it's bilateral, there's one there and one there. The amygdala is where you handle emotions. And when you're using certain drugs, alcohol, marijuana, nicotine, the amygdala is directly affected. And so what happens is the amygdala gets revved up. You respond to those, what we call exogenous, they're from outside the body, those chemicals from outside the body. And what happens is the normal chemicals in your brain, you can't respond to those normally. And also when you're introducing these other chemicals, your normal neurochemicals, something like dopamine, which is something you'll hear about when you go through your science classes, the dopamine is raised, but it's falsely raised. And so this really, in common terms, messes your brain up. So being exposed to these toxins at an early age. So your brain keeps growing and developing and getting better and better and better if you're not using drugs or alcohol until the age of 25. You have tremendous capacity to do things. Your brain is pruning and rewiring. We spoke about the amygdala responding to different hormones and affecting your emotions. And that prefrontal cortex that was way over on the left is the last place to develop. And that prefrontal cortex allows you to make solid, good, rational decisions. So for the parents in the room, and I have a son who's 23 and a daughter who's 18. My 23-year-old, I'm running out of time. I'm hoping he's gonna start making some good decisions. I have 2 years left on him. Give him a chance, but as Terry said, as Ms. Budlum said, stay in contact with your kids, talk to your kids, stay involved, make sure they know what your expectations are, maintaining accountability. That's so critically important because their frontal cortex isn't fully developed yet. So for the kids in the room, if your parents say to you, you're a knucklehead, you probably are a knucklehead because your prefrontal cortex, I saw some people nodding, your prefrontal cortex isn't fully developed just yet. So I think something that's super striking is that not only neurochemically can we see the effects of drugs and alcohol, but if you were to do something like a functional MRI, that's imaging of the brain. I'm going to show you a normal brain would be down here. So the white is brain matter. Black, this is a brain that's been affected by alcohol, and a lot of alcohol from an early age. The dark that you see in the center, that's something called CSF, that's cerebrospinal fluid. There's fluid there, but what's not there is brain tissue. So what does that tell you? This information is real. It's affecting you neurochemically, but also affecting the brain tissue. And so if you were going to do something that would make the muscles in your arms or the muscles in your legs atrophy, you'd probably, atrophy meaning get smaller, you'd probably stop doing that. And so you wouldn't really want to affect your brain this way either to injure that tissue. So the tissue is literally being injured. Okay. So there are early and late effects of alcohol. The early effects and things that happen right away, someone drinks and they drink too much. And when you drink a toxin like alcohol and you take it into your system, your body literally goes, whoa. If I don't get rid of this, I'm gonna get really, really hurt. This is gonna really bother me. This is going to affect my brain, it's going to affect my body, it's going to affect my liver. So what your body does is it makes itself throw up to try to get that alcohol out. So if you're taking in too much alcohol, you're going to start vomiting. If you absorb some of that alcohol, you might not be able to walk in a straight line because the alcohol will affect your balance. You may not be able to make rational decisions because it affects the functioning of your brain. We know you never want to drink and drive because you're not making good decisions and you can hurt yourself or someone else. You can fall if you drink too much, you're vomiting, but things are getting absorbed. You can actually have something called respiratory depression, and you can actually stop breathing. And what do you think will happen if you stop breathing? You're gonna die. So this is good or bad? It's really bad. It's really, really bad. So I want to share a patient with you that I had a few years ago. It was a really awesome day in June. It was a high school graduation and there was a young man, Jeremy, who was graduating high school. He was an athlete, he was amazing, and he had a scholarship, a full scholarship to college. He got a bunch of gift cards from his family. They were together for his graduation and he asked his parents if it would be okay to hang out with his buddies. And his parents are like, yeah, you know, you were here with grandma and grandpa, they're thrilled, they're so proud of you. Why don't you go out and hang out with your buddies? So he and his friends got some marijuana, they got some weed, they got some alcohol, they were feeling really good about themselves, they graduated from high school, and they went and they hung out and they climbed up some rocks and they went up to a cliff in Connecticut. We got a phone call that a terrible accident had occurred. We didn't know exactly what happened, but found out later that Jeremy was with his buddies. They were smoking marijuana, they were drinking, they were laughing. One thing led to another, and Jeremy fell backwards, landing what we call supine on a rock, and sustained a very significant injury. He was transported to our emergency department at Yale New Haven Children's Hospital, where we received 38,000 visits. We knew he was coming as a trauma. We knew this could be very severe, so we had orthopedic surgeons, neurosurgeons, we had anesthesia. These are all the people that were assembled in the room. We had everything ready. We had a major tertiary care center ready. I was there, and we tried to do everything right. But even with that, after this injury, the outcome was so very wrong. When Jeremy fell, this was his graduation day, he landed on a rock and sustained a spinal cord injury, and Jeremy was paralyzed from the waist down. As a mom, as a pediatrician, as an emergency medicine doc, I had to go out into the waiting room to tell his mom and his aunt and about 30 family members who were waiting for information on their child's graduation day what had transpired. So this didn't just affect Jeremy, this affected Jeremy, his entire family, his entire graduating class, and his entire community. Jeremy didn't go to college in August or September. He didn't go hardly anywhere. Jeremy was confined to a wheelchair. Jeremy didn't get a second chance. But the reason for all of us being here today is we want to arm you with information. We want to give you an opportunity not to fall into a situation like what Jeremy had. This was a devastating injury for him and for his family. Once in a while, we do get a second chance. It's a night like tonight, right? We have an opportunity. There are partnerships between your school, your community, your police officers, your mayor was here, your principal. This is a school that really cares. This is an amazing high school. And you are parents who care. You're here tonight, and you're kids who care, and you want to stay healthy. What I would encourage you to think about is what one can do, what each one of you can do, which is an amazing thing. But remember, you have only one body, and you want to take care of it. You only have one life, and you want to respect it. And you have one brain, and it's an amazing brain, and you want to develop it. Don't ever, ever, ever underestimate the power of one. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Allison Beckia Spooner, and I am the Vice President of the Teen Leadership Health Council. Tonight, I'd like to welcome Janelle Jesse. Janelle Jesse works for the Smoke Stoppers program through the St. Vincent's Foundation. She's a former smoker who understands the peer pressures of smoking and vaping among teens.
Hi everyone, how are you? So, pretty much every day what I do is travel across the entire state of Connecticut to speak to middle and high schoolers all about the dangers of pretty much every tobacco product, from cigarettes, cigars, chewing tobacco, and now obviously the big topic of the year is vaping. So a little history lesson. The first e-cigarette actually came to market in about 2000. Very good purpose. His dad was currently dying from emphysema. He wanted to give him a healthier, better option in order to make it so that way he could live a little bit longer. So he created these electronic cigarettes that were supposed to be really healthy. They ended up getting to America in 2006, and once they got here, we really didn't know what to do with them. We didn't know how to market them, we didn't know how to sell them. The tobacco industry was kind of pushing back. They didn't really want to have them on the shelves here at all anyway. So they were supposed to be good, they were supposed to be healthy, but now all we're seeing is that we're getting a whole new generation hooked to tobacco products. They are easier to use. There's no need to carry around a lighter. All you have to do is charge them with pretty much any computer or laptop that you have lying around. And they were supposed to help people quit smoking, but now instead of someone quitting for good, what they're doing is actually switching. They're not quitting a tobacco product, they're moving from one to the other. They're literally getting consumers hooked pretty much instantly from the second they start using this stuff because of the ingredients that are found on the inside. Some of the students in here might be pretty familiar what some of the vapes may look like, but for the parents, I think you guys should be aware. They come in many shapes, sizes. One of the most popular brands out there is called a Juul. It is on the bottom right-hand corner. The top is literally every variety that you can think of. They currently are selling vape watches that look like an Apple Watch, but the inside is actually just a very tiny little vape. So all these things are literally marketed and geared towards teens, and their goal is to get people to start using their products before the age of 13. They want someone to get addicted as soon as possible because then they just make the more money in the long term. This year is the first year where I've seen kind of a big change in trends. A lot of you in here, because this is your first year in high school, maybe this is the first time you guys are seeing Juuls, but Juuls were the most popular one around forever. Now, people are so addicted that their addiction they cannot keep up with financially, so they're turning into a cheaper option. What they're doing is buying more disposable versions. Pretty much what the difference is, you don't have to charge them, you don't have to keep refilling them, they don't have batteries or anything lying around. Once they're empty, you throw them away and you buy another one. There are serious high levels of nicotine in them. So someone that's already addicted, it's not like they're getting less nicotine in their body. It's just a cheaper option. Most of those that were just on the screen sell for about $6 to $10. So compared to a Juul, which is anywhere from $20 to $30, it's a very cheap option for someone who really needs to keep these products going. There's really no smoke that comes out of them, so it's a lot easier to hide. And they're pretty much accessible at every single gas station in every town that I go to. And like I said, I travel the entire state at this point, so I see them everywhere. Some major concerns that everyone should have. Number one, these devices are not regulated. All that means is that our government does not look at them, check them, test them. They will not be regulated right now until 2021. The only reason why this is okay, or our government thought it was okay, was because they were getting a nice big buyout from the tobacco companies. So they essentially paid them to leave them alone for all of these years. We know that all this stuff is harming your brain. We heard Dr. Santucci talk about this. Your brain doesn't stop growing until you're 25. All these chemicals are literally attacking your brain. They're affecting memory, and so that's a huge part of you guys like growing up. You need to be able to have your memories. You need to be able to keep focus on things. It lowers your immunity, so getting sick a lot faster and taking longer to heal. And these are huge parts because of all the chemicals that are just staying inside your body from all these vapes. The long-term effects. This was a huge focus I had for years. I can't stand up here and tell you what's going to happen if you're vaping for 10, 20, 15 years. We don't know. They have not been around long enough. Sadly, in the last couple months, we're not even getting to long-term stuff. These people have only been using these products for 6, 7 years, and there have already been deaths across the United States and serious illnesses that I'm definitely going to get to later. Currently, across the market, there are over 15,000 different types of flavors. So pretty much any flavor you can think of, cereal, soda, any kind of fruit, cake, candy, there's a vape flavor for it. They're pretty much trying to target anyone that they could possibly think of. Nicotine levels are super high. So in a Juul pod, there's anywhere from 38 milligrams to 58 milligrams of nicotine. These pods are really tiny, they're really small. It's super concentrated. And pretty much that's equivalent to anywhere from a pack to a pack and a half of cigarettes. I've met plenty of kids that do a pod or maybe even 2 a day. So that is a serious, serious problem that we're having. They're adding in metals, things like aluminum, nickel, cadmium, lead. All that's doing is attacking someone's nervous system. It's shutting down essentially your whole entire body from the top all the way to the bottom. They're adding in diethylene glycol, which is a long fancy word for antifreeze. Antifreeze, for those of you who don't know, belong in your car and in your engine, not inside your lungs. They're adding in a preservative. The strongest preservative out there currently is something called formaldehyde. If you're not familiar with that, sometimes it's called embalming fluid. It is used to preserve dead people. So it is the same thing preserving dead people, same thing in vapes, also used in cigarettes. They're not going to buy new chemicals, they're going to have what they already have lying around and just put it in their new equipment. The last word on the screen is something called diacetyl. It's one of the chemicals they're using for the flavors. There's about 15 of them total. The flavor, what it's actually doing is burning the airway shut and leaving this oily substance inside of the lungs. So for smokers, there's a huge risk of things like emphysema, which is the tar. Vaping, there is no tar, but there is oil that gets stuck instead. I found these charts to be really scary. The top chart basically says if you never vape in high school, you are only at an 8% chance to eventually smoke cigarettes in your life. If you start vaping in high school, that increases it to about a 30% chance. So that's a huge thing. You might be sitting here now in the audience thinking, I would never smoke cigarettes. Cigarettes are gross, they're disgusting. There's evidence that proves that eventually your body needs the nicotine in any form it comes in. The bottom graph shows what people think that they're vaping. A lot of people have no idea. Some people just think it's the flavor. Some people say it's nicotine. Some people admit to using marijuana or THC oil in there. So it's a variety of multiple things where overall people just have no clue. Some side effects. Now, any of these side effects can happen for other reasons. This is not just for vaping. But for someone that has either too much nicotine in their system or they're going through a withdrawal, headaches, lightheadedness, dizziness, really, really common. Nausea. Your stomach's going to hurt. You're going to feel sick to your stomach. You're not going to want to eat. You're going to have cold sweats. Your body is literally sweating out all of these chemicals that currently are in there. You're gonna have insomnia, you're not gonna be sleeping. We all need to sleep, okay? It's very important. Your heart rate's gonna be really elevated, your heart is gonna go super fast. You're gonna be really anxious. If you have anxiety, this is only gonna make it worse. None of these products are gonna make it any better for you. It's also gonna have ringing in your ears. Vaping causes your blood vessels to narrow. So it's actually shrinking the vessels in your ears and behind your eyes as well. It can also dry out your nose, causing nosebleeds. It can dry out your throat, causing the same thing that people are known as like the smoker's cough. It makes all that extra phlegm build up in your lungs, because essentially you're just burning your lungs. That's all you're really doing. It makes your mouth a complete disaster. Over the last year, I've talked to a lot of dentists about follow-ups. So in a year time, they're seeing one patient say in September, the following September, their gums are receding, they're all cut and blistered, they're cracking, all because of the chemicals that are found in vaping. These patients aren't drinking, they're not smoking, all they're doing is vaping, and that's what the chemicals are doing, literally eating away at their teeth. So like long-term stuff, we really don't know, but it's going down the same path. So we've seen articles about people having strokes or seizures. We've seen athletes especially having heart attacks. Your hearts cannot handle all running around playing whatever you're playing. Lung damage, now being the huge focus. Many of you might have seen what's going on in the news lately. So, what the CDC has finally started calling it, it's called a VALI. Basically, it's e-cigarette vaping associated lung illness. Pretty much what's happening, this is affecting the entire United States. So across the United States, there's about 1,500 people that currently have this disease. And here in Connecticut, there have been 31 cases. Out of those 31 cases, 5 people are under the age of 18. The youngest person on record across the United States is 13 years old. So this is affecting everyone. The middle age that it's affecting is about 23. So literally from all the way from 13 up until someone that's mid-30s, 40 years old, are equally getting affected by this stuff. 70% of the patients are male. So that's really scary to think about. That is more than half of these patients. A lot of the news outlets are giving kind of false information out there saying that it's fake pods or fake juice, vitamin E oil, the THC. We have no idea what's actually causing this stuff. So realistically, vaping anything at this point is considered to be deadly. We have no clue what's coming in contact with it, especially because only 78% of these people have admitted to using THC products. The 13-year-old did not use a THC product and she still has it. So we're not exactly sure what is causing it. They think that come the winter time, especially where we live here in Connecticut, it gets cold really fast. The symptoms are gonna worsen. It projects itself as pneumonia or the flu. Someone's gonna get a really bad cough, shortness of breath, and it escalates really quickly. From the time someone gets to the hospital, the walk-in, the emergency room, usually within 5 hours, they're already being intubated if they didn't get treatment right away. Intubated is when you have to have help breathing. So that is really scary stuff. Currently, there is no cure. There is nothing we can do about it. And sadly enough, October 2nd, the first person from Connecticut died from this disease. So it is hitting here, it is hitting home, it is close to us, and it's not just all across, it's hitting here as well. Besides what these things are made with, the batteries themselves are pretty dangerous as well. They're lithium-ion batteries that when they get too hot, sometimes they can explode. This is what it looks like after it is completely combusted. When this happens, it can cause 2nd and 3rd degree burns. It can cause holes to be blown through your cheek, through your tongue, your teeth can get blown out. The next pictures are a little gross. I found the nicest ones I possibly could. But if you're a little skeevy, close your eyes. These are some examples of some second-degree burns, which is the least side effect that you can get from it. And this person was just holding their vape. They weren't using it. As of October 1st, Tobacco 21 has passed here in Connecticut. Some people in the audience might not think this is a good law. I think it's fabulous. The reason why, we've already talked about your brain needs to keep growing. The earlier you introduce these products to your brain, the more it's not going to grow. Also, they're trying to keep this stuff away from you guys as much as possible. So they're changing some of the laws in terms of like online sales. Basically, unless you're 21 or older, you can't even order these things online to get shipped to your house because you still need to submit your license and sign for the product as well. Now, the issue we're having is gas stations or companies complying with this new law, but there are new fines attached to that as well. The first fine is $300, the second is $750, the third is $1,000, and as of the fourth time, they're on pretty much like probation and they could essentially lose their tobacco license because of this. This can happen to individuals as well. So if someone you know sells vapes to people on the side, they can also be responsible for paying all these fines as well. Oh, I'm not done yet. I think it's great. I think it's a really good thing. And hopefully people actually take this seriously. It's a slow turnaround, but I think it should work. If you or someone you know are looking for help, these are some really good ways to get there. All the way on the left-hand side are nicotine replacements. These are only prescribed by doctors. You cannot start taking them by yourself. Your doctor should advise you, and this should only be if you're over 18. Programs through your health departments are great. They're a really good resource. Also here at your school. And some helpful apps. So these are things you can download right on your phone. You can have it with you. They help you quit and they make it easier. You have kind of a support system. And lastly, marijuana and vaping. It's a huge concern. You guys saw the table outside Officer Morlock has. They get confiscated here in Danbury. They get confiscated everywhere I go. The reason why these things are getting so popular is because essentially they don't smell like weed and they're a lot stronger. So say you smoke a regular joint, that gives you about 13% THC. The dab pens have about 70 to 96% THC. So it's a lot stronger. They're easier to hide in terms of like you don't have to light anything. They're really small and they look like pens, but people aren't aware of the dangers that come with this. While you're not gonna smoke yourself to death, you're going to feel like you're gonna die. Some people's bodies just cannot handle this stuff. Your heart starts racing, you get sick, you actually feel what feels like bugs crawling all over your body. You get really dizzy, really lightheaded. Some people can pass out or throw up. I've actually been to schools where people have gone to the nurse saying that they used their friend's dab pen. This is how they were feeling. Pass out and get escorted to the hospital pretty much immediately. So these are things that you guys really have to consider. Are you willing to put your body through any of this? Because pretty much you're the guinea pigs. You guys are the ones testing these products out and your life is not worth it. It should not be just to test it out for the other companies. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, my name is Karen Santana. I'm a part of the Teen Leadership Health Council. I'm a lead member representing Henrietta Tech. Today I'll be representing Vincent Daniello. So Vincent Daniello is a commanding officer of the Danbury Police Department's Community Service Division. This division provides community-oriented policing and offers community outreach services, crime prevention programs, and educational presentations. As an experienced officer, Lieutenant Daniello has served at the New Milford and Danbury Police Department, working in varied capacities. So everyone please give a round of applause for Lieutenant Daniello.
Thanks everyone, thanks for having me. Appreciate being here. So I don't have a PowerPoint presentation like the previous two presenters. I'm going to be going kind of off of memory and some notes. All right, so they were talking a lot about the health side effects and whatnot of substance abuse and addiction. Okay, I'm here going to be talking a little bit about the consequential aspects of those as it refers to law enforcement. So in sticking with alcohol and marijuana, which obviously are the hot topics for your age group in the high school, we're going to talk a little bit about decriminalization versus legalization, trying to dispel some of these myths, because a lot of times what we're seeing as law enforcement officers is, it's legal, it's not a big deal, maybe my parents think it's okay, all right, so the kids are going to do that and they're seeing that on TV and whatnot. So in the state of Connecticut, okay, decriminalization, all right, it's exactly what it says in its name, all right, it's a taking of an act that is illegal, okay, and removing the criminal penalties. So think about speeding. Right? Speeding, you won't end up on your record or go to jail for it, but you have to pay a fine for it. All right, so marijuana is still illegal. They've just decriminalized, okay, some of its penalties. All right, so it's a loosening of criminal penalties imposed for personal marijuana use, even though manufacturing, sales remain illegal. You understand that so far? Good to go? All right. So legalization of something, okay, is the taking of an act that is illegal and making it legal, therefore taking away all penalties and all fines, okay? For example, we're going to go into maybe Massachusetts, our little northern border, okay, when it comes to medical marijuana legalization, okay, and recreational marijuana legalization. So Connecticut has medical marijuana legalization. You understand what that means? Okay, it means you have to suffer and prove that you suffer from a qualifying medical addiction in order to use marijuana. But there are serious, I should say, what's the word I'm looking for? Regulations in which to use that. That doesn't mean you can just take your medical marijuana card and go out in public and smoke because you have a condition. Okay, that is not true. There are for any of you that have a medical marijuana card for medical purposes, you can't just smoke in public. Right? You can't carry it around in public. You have to do it so in a privacy of your own home under the, obviously, direction of a medical profession. Okay, you need a prescription, obviously. There's regulations on strength. Okay, you have to buy it from a dispensary, not just someone, your friends, hey, you medical marijuana, I'm going to take this marijuana and use it for medical purposes. Correct me if I'm wrong in here, Doc. All right, so that's legal here in Connecticut, okay? Now, recreational marijuana has been legalized in Massachusetts and other states like Oregon and Colorado. There are some stipulations with that as well. That does not mean you can just go up to Massachusetts and it's legal there and walk around and smoke or vape any type of marijuana. That is not the case. You still cannot use it in a public area. Okay, it's meant for personal use. If you have more than a certain amount of marijuana, that is illegal. It's for personal, it's less than 10 ounces. Anything more than 10 ounces has to be kept under lock and key at your house. It can only grow a certain amount. All right, so there are a lot of exceptions or regulations when it comes to that. Okay, Connecticut is not there, and hopefully it will not get there. All right, so when we go into that, all right, there are some, when they say decriminalization, there are some consequences other than just having a traffic ticket, okay, to have it less than an ounce of marijuana for personal use in Connecticut. All right, and I'm just going to go into some of those penalties before I get into some of the things that you as parents can do to help with your child. All right, the penalty for possession of less than 1/2 ounce, okay, and this goes for you high school kids as well. All right, it's a first offense is a $150 fine. All right. If you have more than 1/2 ounce, okay, it's a fine of up to $1,000 or imprisonment for 1 year or both. Right? We don't want that, obviously. Okay. So right now, it's decriminalized. We understand the difference between decriminalization and legalization. Be the heads nodding yes and no, okay? So decriminalized, you can still pay a price for it, and after a certain amount of times, if you do it enough, first, second, third offense, it becomes criminal again. okay? And we don't want to see that happening because you're young, all right? We don't want to see that go down that path, okay? And the second most thing that we obviously have to deal with when it comes to children and teens of your age is alcohol. Alcohol is still probably our number one most problem we see when we talk to teens and parents as well, all right? Again, we're trying to prevent addiction. We're trying to prevent substance abuse because obviously, as the doctor had said and Janelle pointed out, the repercussions later on in life, the earlier you start, obviously have you a higher propensity towards addiction. All right, so some quick alcohol statutes. All right, just because you can't technically be arrested as a juvenile for possessing alcohol, okay, there are serious civil offenses. Everybody wants to have a driver's license, right? Who here wants to have a driver's license when they grow up, right? All right, so some may think, hey, I'm just going to get a ticket if I raid my parents' liquor cabinet, right? If we catch you, all right, we give you a ticket. You have to go to juvenile court, okay? That will delay your ability to get a license up to 150 days. Okay? If you have a license and you're under 18, you get caught with alcohol, they will suspend your license. So when you get caught driving on a suspended license, that is criminal. You will go to jail for that, okay? And that will be on your record, okay? We're not here to arrest people. We don't want to see these things on your record because by the time you see law enforcement, it's kind of a little bit too late, okay? So when we talk about alcohol again, with high school and with parents, okay, we need to be aware of social host laws. Can anybody understand what a host is? Hosting a party? All right. So, with social host laws, you are responsible, okay, as a child, a youth, and as a parent, okay? So this comes into parenting when we talk to your children about alcohol and marijuana use, okay? Anyone of any age, okay, in control over any dwelling or unit or private property may be liable if teens are caught drinking on their property. Pretty simple. They made it pretty intense, and the penalties are going up for that. All right, as include a Class A misdemeanor, punishable by up to 1 year in prison, up to $2,000 in fines, or both. Class A misdemeanors are serious, and you have to put that on your job applications. Okay. Under this new revised law, if a teen has his friends over, or his or her friends, excuse me, over while parents or guardians are out, and those friends bring alcohol to that party, regardless of whether or not the parents or the guardians know what is happening, all right? The teen presenting that alcohol, the teen allowing it to happen, that alcohol is there, all right? And the parents of the dwelling or the guardians of that dwelling will be criminally and civilly liable for that, even if you don't know it's happening in your own home. So it's pretty severe. You can obviously go on the internet and Google all kinds of incidents that happen where parents didn't know, but then now they're criminally held liable because they either tried to hide it, or a student or one of their friends actually ended up in the hospital, or overdosed on either alcohol and or other serious drugs. So I know, pretty depressing, I apologize. All right. So, as a parent, and we've stressed this, the first thing when Ms. Budlong got up here, the mayor said it, the principal had said it. So as a parent, all right, and as administrators and teachers of you people here in the high school or the school system, we're going to stress this. You've got to be involved with your children, all right? You must be involved with your child's activities. You must be involved with your child's decisions and decision makings. We already just showed by Dr. Santucci that the frontal lobe, all right, is responsible for decision making. We already know that doesn't develop until they're 25 years old. So it's your parents' responsibility to be involved and help your children make informed decisions, all right? Contrary to public opinion, parents are still the #1 influence in their child's life. It's not their friends. It's their parents and the adult support system around them. You need to communicate with your child. You need to communicate with the youth, okay? Know what they are into, what they're interested in, okay? And also what their concerns are. Do not let emotions get in the way of being a parent or sticking to a decision. Okay, you may be extremely angry with your children. Okay, they may be angry with you. All right, you must be able to control those emotions to get through to your children. All right, you must educate yourself on the dangers and pressures that teens are facing in 2019. It's a lot different. When I was in high school, when I was in middle school, about the teen pressures, we didn't have social media. We didn't have the access to the internet, for crying out loud. We didn't have computers. If you had a computer, it was playing Pong. Back and forth thing. They remember those games for people who are my age? Okay, we didn't have the pressures they do. Okay, it's just a different time and age. They're getting pressures from all over, and they're seeing people of our age in national media spotlight celebrating these types of behaviors, and they're automatically linking that to personal growth, personal like, by Instagram, social media, all that other good stuff, when they judge their self-being or self-worth by how many likes they get. Right? So when they see, a Kardashian out there doing something stupid and have 30,000 likes, they're going to emulate that behavior. That's why parents, you need to understand that these are the type of pressures they're into. And you have to understand that these platforms are what are really doing to the children. All right? So as parents, you need to set some boundaries, okay, and expectations with your child when you're talking about substance abuse or even use with alcohol. Have rules. Okay, you need to have rules that you can only. An example is with their phones. Most of the children here have phones. You need to have a rule. Sorry, kids, it is what it is. You're not paying for your phone. It belongs to your parents. You should have a rule that you can check their phone at any time. Okay, you can't do that. You are their parents. Okay, you need to become familiar with all the apps and the platforms that your children are using, because they're using these apps and platforms to celebrate or learn about the things we had no idea when we got to high school. Okay? Another thing, you need to know your child's whereabouts at all times. Have their contacts and their parents' contacts. Kids, this is for your safety as well too. Okay? There's a lot of weird people out there. We need to know where you are when you're 13 years old going to a friend's house. Get the contacts. It's not the death of you. You're going to live, we promise you. All right? When you're conversing with your child, I think I got these out of order, so I apologize. When you're conversing with your child about these types of substances, alcohol, marijuana, okay, please tell them that you've heard them, listen to them, be open-minded as a parent, all right? You don't know the pressures some of these kids are under. Like I said, it's different from when we went to school. Let them know you've heard them by paraphrasing back what they actually telling you. You need to pay attention, all right? Give them the right to feel the way they feel, okay? It's a different environment, a lot of different things than we did. They have all these stimuli that are all around us. And with the alcohol and the marijuana, they're graduating to higher and different and stronger types of drugs. You need to understand that what they feel is real. It's not something made up, and it's not something we just push under the rug. Okay, when you're talking to them, you have to ask some empowering questions. You can't be satisfied with a simple yes or no. Make them give you an answer. And then, kids, talk to your parents. Have that support system. You need to offer that support system. Okay, focus on your family. Focus on the caring adults and the school systems and the school administrators that are here. Because they're not here to make your lives miserable. We all think that we're in school. They're actually helping you become a better person and productive. And so you don't end up a statistic or someone like Dr. Santucci she had to treat in the hospital. That's the last thing you want. Okay? Focus on the positive support systems. Another thing, parents and children, when you're talking about risky behaviors or alcohol or situations you might feel uncomfortable with, review and practice some of your refusal skills. We understand peer pressure. We understand that peer pressure forces kids maybe to do something they don't want to do, into unhealthy, risky behaviors, okay? So have an agreement. Have a talk with your children, okay? We need to give our youth an exit plan when they're in situations that they feel uncomfortable and risky, but yet might have some social repercussions as far as bullying goes, or not included in certain groups in high school, all right, or in school. I'm just saying, just in high school, as an example, because we're here. Okay, think of a fire drill. We all practice fire drills. Nobody gets caught in a fire in school anymore. We all have code words, we all run out, we all practice it, we all drill. Talk to your children. Have a safe word or have a safe phrase that your child can call you or text you if you're in a situation that is risky behavior. Say, hey, I have a stomach ache. Okay, the parent gets that without questions asked. They know they're in a risky situation. The child's uncomfortable. The parent just goes and picks them up, no questions asked. All right, it's a fairly simple thing, and in a few days, if you want to talk about it, again, be open-minded, listen to your children, all right? Listen to your parents, okay? Because the last thing we want to do is when we get there, it's already kind of too late. We're here to try to prevent some of these things from happening. I have a great staff that's up here. I don't know if they're still here. They're outside on that table. I have Officer Morlock and Officer O'Brien. Tremendous resources, okay? If you have a child that you think may be on that road, okay? They're right there, and they're going to intervene as best as they can. All right. They were also very approachable, and they love talking to parents because that's how they get to know the students in their environment here. So with that, I think I'm all done, and good luck, and enjoy the rest of the year. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Maria Khan. I'm a member of Teen Leadership Health Council. I have the great honor to present Max Dolan tonight. Max is the founder of Recovery Unlimited, a recovering coaching and transportation company that serves Connecticut recovery community, and also is an owner of a construction company, Dolan Construction. Recently married, Max is in a long-term recovery.
What's going on, everybody? How you doing? I know that we are sit down for a long time to listen to a lot of things. I'm tired. It's Monday at 8 o'clock. But like we said, Max Dolan, I'm a member of long-term recovery. I got sober August 28th, 2015. And what I'm going to do here is pretty much dive into everything you just heard and talk about how it's affected me. The initial start of that, I've talked for a long time about this, something very, very prevalent in my life on a day-to-day. Let's give us some helpful talking points just to guide everybody in the right direction. And, but a big thing, like we said, drinking and marijuana in high school. I had my first drink when I was 13 years old, and that progressed through middle school. I was drinking and smoking a little bit of weed through middle school, and became somewhat of a daily occurrence through my high school. And I never really thought growing up that I was going to turn into somebody who was just drinking and smoking weed, and later graduating on to other things, other extracurricular activities that pretty much forged a negative path for my life, but it happened. And it started drinking and smoking a little bit of weed. And freshman year, it was cocaine. With a lot of pills involved. But my junior year, we shooting heroin. The money kind of ran out, and pills turned into crack. And went to Rock High School. I was an athlete. And I ended up getting a Division I scholarship to swim at the University of Wisconsin. And that turned into a very short-lived experience due to legal ramifications. And that's where I was involved in that. And I had nowhere to go. Came back home. A long period of time where I didn't really know what to do. I was just trying to get myself out of the cycle, but I could not do it on my own. And being honest, I didn't have anything like this. I didn't have anything like this put in my face when I was in high school. I can't tell you if it would help me or not, but I can tell you that we're going to work the shop. No? And that turned into, like I said, there were multiple arrests when I was a juvenile on through the post house. My family was really in my life anymore. My older brother, my younger sister was no involvement whatsoever. I was pretty much on my own trying to figure it out. It was about a year and a half that I was homeless. And it came to a point where I got tired of getting arrested. I got tired of overdosing. I got tired of risking everything that you just heard because I didn't want to reach out and ask for help. Reached out and asked for help August 28th, 2015, and my life has drastically changed. It's not easy, day-to-day thing. And one of the main driving factors as to why I choose to be sober, choose to be substance free, because my life for a long, long time, it's right here. No step up, there was nothing. I had absolutely nothing in my life. And growing up, like I said, I had an older brother and a younger sister, and one of the biggest impacts, other than the legal ramifications and near-death experiences and lack of life, was my family. It wasn't my life. My mom and my dad, for a very long time, they pushed to be involved in my life. And when I pushed back, as I've been told, I'm not a parent, but I've been told most teenagers do, they kind of said, all right, you do you. Figure it out. And I did. And it was a very, very serious separation, very serious divide. My older brother wanted nothing to do with it. The younger sister was terrified. The little girl that she was born, she was about 5 years younger than me. Born, it was, my brother and I made a pact. Nothing's going to happen to this little girl. I was happening to this little girl. That was an initial drive, and driving back. If I'm being honest, the initial choice to get sober was, I was homeless. It was August. I heard winter was coming around the corner, and I was promised a warm bed and 3 meals a day for a minimum of 35 days. Said, sign me up. And when I got in, I saw the other side of life that I had been trying to chase. So, and the one thing I can't stress enough is it all started drinking, smoking a little bit of weed in high school. Right? Now, the commitments that are required to pretty much stay sober and continue to move forward in this journey it's like I said, it's a day-to-day. And I was told within my first month of being sober that the only reason that I made it, that I have made it thus far, is people have given to me what I've been looking for. My job is to give back. That is what I strive for. I strive to come and do events like this. And I have absolutely no idea if I'm reaching out and saying the right things, or looking at the right person when I'm talking. But if I come here and if I connect with one person, if I connect with one person that doesn't even know I'm connected with them, and 5 years down the line they are forced with a situation and they think back to this moment, that's it. That is what I'm looking for. Right? Like I said, they didn't have that. What drives me to maintain this commitment is pretty much the life that is unfolding in front of me. One big thing, and I'm not talking material life or material items or monetary, I'm not talking about that at all. I'm talking about the fact that my mother, my father, my little sister, my older brother are all back in my life. Everybody's here. I remember, believe it or not, it took them a while, but past Christmas, first Christmas, I've been to the extended family, the whole family, at my grandma's house, and it had been 8 years. And everybody look at me and they ask me, oh, what's new? I didn't see you. How long do you have? Like, it was 8 years ago. My entire life has changed. And it's little things like that. And another main thing that keeps me moving forward in this path is the fact that I have the opportunity to work with young men that come into this program, that come into some sort of 12-step program, or I speak to them when they're in a rehab and I run into them on the street 3 months later. It's an opportunity to see somebody in one of the darkest times in their life. And I didn't have the opportunity to see them myself, but it's a blessing to see somebody's light just turn on in somebody's eyes. It's not fast. I don't always recognize it in the moment. But when you look back, of course, just talking to a guy for 6 months. Then, 6 months down the line, how their life completely changed. It's boring. Now, like I said, my parents, they wanted to know where I was at all times. They wanted to know who I was with, what are you doing? And I took the approach a lot. I snuck things. It was not the proper approach to take. That's what I did. And my parents didn't know. My older brother was not a problem child. My parents didn't know how to deal with me. I was the first one they dealt with. This is not their fault by any means. But in conversations with them as an adult, now speaking with my mother and my father, in hindsight, they look back at it and they say, I wish I stuck with it. I wish I listened. I wish that I had the involvement that you potentially help this whole thing and fix everything. Now, one big thing to talk about what this has done for my life is, I just got married. I got married in August to a woman she's 10 years in recovery. And I don't believe in, I met this woman, she lived in Newtown. And I met her at an Alcoholics Anonymous convention in Boston. And 3 years later, my wife. I have the opportunity through recovery I'm the owner of Recovery Unlimited. That's a company that you reach out and work with people who are in rehab, who are getting out of jail, who are in high school striving. I work with kids that are having a really hard time in high school and they're transferred to boarding school because that's what the parents want. And it's a big brother program. I have the opportunity to, when people are in there, like I said, in that lowest point in their life, try to be somewhat of a catalyst to get them to the next side. Right? Like I said, I can't thank everybody for having me come out here. It's I look forward to this every year, being that, like I said, I've seen it was 2 years. Last year I saw somebody after this, months down the line. And a very serious conversation with somebody who's struggling, who's having a really hard time. And that's what made it worth it. So if there are any questions afterwards, I'll be hanging around, I'll be outside with my phone number. By any means. Very nice to recall. But it's not worth it. If it's just a little bit of weed, drinking in high school, because that's what your friends doing. It's not worth it.
Thank you. I'm Chris Davidson. I'm the principal of Freshman Academy here at Danbury High School. First of all, I want a big round of applause for all of our presenters. They're absolutely awesome. Super knowledgeable, and really an asset to us here at Danbury High. I also want to thank the committee that met many times to put this together. So Jen, Caitlin, Sylvia, and of course Terry for working so hard to make this program go. Give them a round of applause, too, please. The last thing I want to do is thank you guys for taking that critical first step. So in high schools across the country, parents and schools deal with addiction. They deal with substance abuse, and we can't do it without your help. We can't help our students without you. So you've taken an outstanding first step of becoming aware and knowing what to look for. You're one step closer to providing the supports that our students need to help get them through some difficult times. So thank you for coming out tonight. Please don't forget to bring your surveys and hand them in the back, and our students your homework cards need to be logged into. So thank you all for coming. Have a great night.